Yeah, it's CC, the CEO. Wanna change your life? Come see me, yo. I'ma teach you how to build up wealth for your family, not just for yourself. I'm a bestseller, a house flipper, a businesswoman, a go-getter, a big investor, a gold builder that could teach you to get richer like millions, baby. You really about to fill your savings. You about to have multiple streams to pass your children, baby. Let me teach you to get your credit on track in the long run. You'll make it all back at Catalyst and watch it all psychology black-owned firm, but we ain't all black.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Constance Carter. How are you doing on this beautiful day? I'm so happy to be here. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. I invite you to just share a little moment with me as you come in. I want to make sure that you understand that this is the Fly Nubian Queen. It's also Constance Carter. So if you are watching, I'm on about 8 different platforms. If you're just seeing me, if you're seeing me for the first time, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Constance, the last name Carter, and nobody works harder than me. Yes, me. On the MIC. Anyway, let me get right to it. Let me quit playing. As you come in, make sure you subscribe to the Fly Nubian Queen and at CC the CEO on YouTube. Please, I need you. And also share this information now because I'm about to give you some game. Now, as you're watching, I know I have people that watch from all over the world. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. I don't know who GA36666 says 999999. I don't know what that means, but I would like for you to put where you're watching from in the comments because I know that I have people that watch from all over the world. And so thank you for just sharing your time with me for real. So just put your where you're from in the comments and I want to shout you out today. Okay. Bernard, thank you for watching me all the time, all day and all night, and all the DMs and all the comments and all the marriage proposals. I thank you. But for everybody else, put where you are watching from. I got some good information to give to you today on credit. The reason why I wanted to talk to you about credit, because credit, I have for the longest time, I have been obsessed. I've been completely obsessed with credit. The reason why, you got to think about, where certain things stem from. When I was a child, I used to overhear my parents talking, and they would say, "This is what we can't do. This we can't do that because we got bad credit." And I never knew what bad credit was. I just knew it was ruining our lives, and I never wanted to have bad credit in my life. I started off doing pretty good. Very organized, kept all my bills, 800 credit score. I bought my first house at 22. I just did everything right. So then I was like, you know what? I told my daddy, I said, I'm gonna become a real estate agent. And if you don't know me, I built the largest Black-owned real estate firm in California, done a lot of really great things in the world, broke a lot of records. And so I've been very, very blessed. But I remember when I first got my license, I was like, I'm gonna be very modest. I'm not going to go out and get a Mercedes. I'm going to drive a regular car. I'm not going to spend a lot of money. I'm just going to be frugal. And guess what? I started making a whole lot of money very, very, very quickly. I started making 6 figures. My first year, I made 70,000. First year, I made 70,000, and I've never made under 100,000 since. I've been, and I'm 26 years old making this kind of money. And, that thinking that I was going to be very conservative, it all went out the window. I started buying things. That Mercedes that I said I wasn't going to buy, I bought that Mercedes. I bought, houses. I just bought and I did some frivolous spending too. And I ended up having more month than money. I ended up having more going out than coming in. Now I'm making over $250,000 at one time, and I ended up filing bankruptcy, making nearly $250,000 a year at 33. At this time, I'm 33. I'm making this money. Got these houses, ended up foreclosing on some properties, short selling some properties. Cars got repossessed. My ex-husband had to stand in line to get our utilities paid. And I had this money coming in, but I had more money going out than I had coming in. So it don't matter if you're making $250,000 a year. If your bills are $30,000 a month, then you have less to come into your house. And I may as well have made $50,000 a month because I couldn't pay all my debt. And so that's what ended up happening. I got overwhelmed. I had too much. I was still obsessed with credit, but my credit was in ruins. I went from an 800 credit score to a 379. I have yet to see anyone. Actually, no, actually, I did just see somebody recently with a credit score about that low. Um, but I have yet to see too many people who've had a 379 credit score. I mean, I just went bad on everything. And that was by design. I mean, my bankruptcy attorney told me just stop paying everything. And I was like, everything? He said everything. So I stopped paying everything. And I had a lot of things on credit. I had no medical insurance. And it's funny because my medical insurance had just lapsed because I had an assistant that I had to pay and I couldn't pay her. So I had to decide if I was going to pay. And I'm 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant. I had to decide on if I was going to pay my assistant or if I was going to pay my medical insurance. Pay my assistant, didn't have medical insurance. And so then I have either $30,000 or $50,000 hospital bill for when I had my last child. So there was all these things that were going on that just mounted against my credit. And it took a dive. It took a deep, deep nosedive. So I go from 800 to 379. And then I filed bankruptcy. And then within a year, I'm back to up to nearly 700. Not quite to 700, but during that time, what I did is I became a certified credit expert. I took all of these trainings. Again, my obsession with credit started when I was young with my parents, right? Because I didn't know what credit was, but now I'm fascinated with credit. I am obsessed with credit. And so I get my credit score up. I start helping other people with their credit. I started doing things like credit parties. And so these credit parties I would go into people's houses. It's like Tupperware parties. And I would just educate, people in the community. I would have workshops just about credit because again, that was my obsession. I loved it. And I love what credit could do for people. I love how you can use credit as leverage to really build wealth. And a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish have been a result of me having good credit. Credit is paramount. You could have no money. I'd rather have millions of dollars in bad credit but I'd rather like if it came down to me having, a couple of dollars and some good credit, I'm going to pick the good credit because the credit can help me to get even further. But if it came down to me having $1 million in bad credit, I'm going to take the $1 million because I know how to turn that credit around to have good credit. But here's the thing about credit. People always think it's a lot more difficult than it is. And so what happens is when we see this thing that we're just not familiar with, we become in overwhelm and it becomes this monstrosity and we're just like, then we just shut down and we don't want to do it. And so now it's the boogeyman, it's the big bad wolf, that thing that you just want to put away that you just don't even want to deal with. And that's what credit becomes for a lot of people. I know people who filed bankruptcy in the 90s, they like, my credit's bad. That was my parents. My parents, up until I became an adult, they thought that they had bad credit because they filed bankruptcy in the 80s. And like, no, that shit fell off 15 years ago. Your credit is not that bad, but a lot of people just don't know how to reestablish themselves. And so I made it my business to help people reestablish themselves. So I have books about credit. I have Keeping Score. And let me just tell you before I get into the crux of it, Keeping Score was a book that I wrote because somebody said, hey, you should write a book on credit. And I was like, okay, went home, wrote the book. Of course, it wasn't that simple, but it took me about a month to finish it. And it became a bestseller. I published it, self-published and everything. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. The first rendition came out. It was jacked up. So I did all of this was by trial and error. But it became a bestseller, Amazon bestseller. I mean, it ain't no New York Times bestseller, right? It ain't getting me millions of dollars, but it is helping thousands and thousands of people. That I'm grateful for. I was just at a conference a couple months ago. I'm just off on a tangent, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. You're gonna listen to me. But I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and I was speaking. It was Boyce Watkins, my homeboy Boyce. This Fly Nubian Queens, this is his network. So I was one of the featured speakers at his conference, and I'm at the networking event later on, and I'm talking to this lady. And she don't know who I am. And she goes, oh, are you enjoying the conference? And I was like, yeah. She was like, what have you liked the most? I was like, well, I spoke a little bit earlier. And she was like, oh, okay, what's your name? And I said, Constance Carter. She was like, oh my God, Constance Carter, I got your book. It changed my life, blah, blah, blah. Right. I said that to say, I didn't know when I was writing this book that it was going to be reaching people that I had no idea. I just wrote it because somebody told me to write it. I wanted to help people, but it's helped tens of thousands of people. And, if you look at the reviews, people say, this book has saved my life. Like when people say this book has literally saved my life, that's everything to me. So that makes me uberly proud, right? Because this is the reason why I do it. So I have this book, Keeping Score. And then I wrote did a workbook, which is The Secret to Build credit to build wealth. And this is like this book on steroids, right? So this is an easy read. You can sit down and read this in an hour. Boom, you done. This book is a little bit more intensive. It gives you homework. It gives you goals to reach. I really put a lot of thought into all my books. Again, these are all self-published. I did all of these books myself. So I have that. And then I wrote this book called The Secret to Breaking the Broke Code. And this really helps us change your mindset. And let me just tell you a quick story about this. So in 2022, I'm going through it. I'm in the thick of a divorce, right? So I'm going through it. I'm in therapy and everything, right? And I'm telling you my business. Yeah, I'm telling you my business. So I'm going through therapy, and my therapist is like, I Googled you. I didn't tell her anything about I had no books. I'm just going through what I'm going through. And she's like, I Googled you. And I was like, okay. And she said, and I read your book, this one. And I'm like, okay, that's what's up. What do you think? And she said, I think, why are you coming to me? You got all the answers in your book. And I was like, really? You liked it? She was like, yes, it's amazing. She was like, your assignment is I want you to read your book. And I was like, all right, And so I ended up reading this book, and I'm reading and I'm like patting myself on the back. I'm like, yo, right? And so, you just forget, and I'm like, I wrote this, I had wrote it, a couple of years before, but what you have to understand, and I just want to impart this on you really quick, is that a lot of times we have the answers already inside of us and we don't even know, especially when we're going through things. We have the answers right inside of us. And sometimes we need those reminders, and they could come from within or they can come from other people, but you already have the answers to whatever it is that you're looking for. So I want to encourage you today. But I wrote that book because it was just really about getting out of that broken mindset to really help you shift your life, break generational curses, welcome generational blessings. Somebody said, I do a cohort of women, and somebody said last night, what I do today is going to change the trajectory of 9 generations. Oof. So can you honestly say what you do today is going to change? And I never thought about it like that. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So I'm thinking, children, but I hadn't thought 9 generations. What am I doing today that's going to help 9 generations? Yeah, that's deep. Lastly, this Wealth Accelerator workbook. This is a comprehensive guide on achieving your financial abundance through various strategies. So you have homework, and it really you really dig deep about money, how to utilize money, how to start investing, and all those things. So this is my latest book my latest workbook that just came out last year. All of those are available on Amazon. Okay. So let's get right into it. I appreciate you guys, just joining me today. And James, I appreciate you saying that, because I'm always, if you meet me in person or if you meet me on here, this is who I am. This is who I am with my kids. This is who I am with my homeboys and my homegirls. This is who I am in a professional environment. I am just me, and I'm going to always be me, and I'm going to be unapologetically me. I appreciate you allowing me to come into your living rooms or in your office or while you're driving and be transparent. Because I wouldn't have nobody to talk to if you guys didn't tune in. So I appreciate you guys doing that. So what's up, Deshaun from Stockton? Hey, Patricia. What's up, Jason? I just want to shout you out real quick. Jerome, Frank. What's up, Frank from Glenwood, Illinois? Gasa from Pittsburgh. What's happening? Sean from Columbia. Thank you guys for tuning in. And there's so many more of you. I see you guys again. I'm on 9 different platforms right now. So I know people are from all over the world, but I want to talk to you about credit real quick. So I wanted to give you just a little background information on, why credit is so important to me and how I just kind of fell into becoming a credit expert, because it just became a passion of mine. And so I just, learned everything there is to know about credit. But there are some principles, just to let you know, Oh, what's up, Peace Supreme from the DMV? I'm in the DMV now. That's where I live, baby. I'm in the DMV. I'll be out and about tonight. Hey, Auntie, how you doing? Just so you know, there are rules and principles to your credit and your credit score. There are things that you can do to increase your credit and to decrease your credit. And so, a lot of times we'll do things with our credit, And we don't even know that we're doing things to mess our credit up. So I want to just give you a few things. I think I have a list of 7 things that you really need to be aware of that could really drop your credit score when you don't even think that you've done anything wrong. So let me just show you really quick. What's up, Cartisha from Augusta? How you doing, mama? Thank you for watching. All right, so I want you to look at this credit pie. Now, when I learned about this credit pie, y'all, it was a game changer for me. This is when I really understood and realized how credit works. Once I figured out this formula, oh my God, I'm telling you, it was like the heavens opened up. It absolutely blew my mind. And it might be because I'm a credit nerd. I don't know. I don't know if this does it for you like it does it for me, but this credit pie just really did it for me. So I was like, oh my God, okay, this is how credit is made up. But it all depends because people get so specific on credit score and, okay, am I going to lose 10 points if this happened? Am I going to lose, 30 points if this happened? It all depends on the breadth of your credit. How are things made up? How many, what's all on your credit, right? But if you look at it, 35% of it is your payment history, okay? It's how you paid your bills. Were you late? Were you on time? Do you have collections? That's 35% of your credit score, how you make your payment, okay? 30%, now this is the piece that was mind-blowing to me when I first learned about it. 30% is your revolving credit cards, your revolving debt. That's your credit card. How much do you owe on your revolving, which is your credit cards? How much do you owe? This is the most important factor outside of how you make your payments. Why? Because this is something that can be controlled very easily. How you make your payments, how, what your amounts are on your credit. So this is the quickest way you can go up and go down. And when if you monitor your credit, and hopefully everybody in here is monitoring their credit. And hold on really quick. I want to just acknowledge you right now. And I want to thank you for subscribing to the Fly Nubian Queen. I want you to hit the subscribe button. I want you, if you're on Fly Nubian, I want you to just run over there real quick to @CC the CEO and hit the subscribe button real quick. Subscribe to my channel too. Cause Fly Nubian Queen, they got, I'll say we, cause I'm on the network too. Got damn near 600,000 subscribers or something like that. Little Constance Carter, I got about 10,900 or something like that. So go on over there and show me some love @CC the CEO. And then make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook as well, at I am Constance Carter, and share this information out, because this is not just information that's good for you. It's good for everybody in your family too. All right. I'm going to answer your question in a minute. Okay, Deshaun. So thank you. And if you have questions, please, please, please. This is a dialogue and not a monologue. So I don't want to just be talking to myself. I'm talking to you. I'd like for you to talk back to me. So I will take time to answer some questions for you as well. All right. So thank you for the questions. But what I do want to say is that the credit cards, that is the golden ticket to your credit, how you pay your credit cards. Now, let me just tell you, I've seen some shit. The other day, I was so mad at a family member. I'm not going to say which family member it was, but I was so mad at her. Because she was like, Niecy, they call me Niecy. Niecy, I want to buy another house and blah, 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 blah. And I know I had worked with her to get her scores up to 800. And so I look at her Credit Karma now. And let me just tell you this. Credit Karma does not have real credit scores. They are FACO scores. They're not FICO scores. They're the Vantage credit scores. We don't use them for mortgages. But I said, let me look at your Credit Karma and let me see what your credit score is. And I looked at her Credit Karma and it was in the 500s. And I was like, yo, what the hell? Your credit score is normally in the 8s. And it's probably really in the 600s, probably just knowing, what it should be, what it should look like. And the reason why it was so low, though, was because she paid her credit card late. That was 30% of her credit score. So that's two things, right? She paid it late and she was over the limit. So that's two things, 35%, 30%. So her credit card balances was too high and she had paid it late. And I'm like, yo, this is a $35 credit card payment. Why the would you pay this credit card late? And she was like, I don't know. I just forgot. I just want to tell you right now, I want you to get in the good habit of never paying your credit card late. $35. You could scrape up $35 in your couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, so at minimum, if you have a bunch, because I don't know, you never know if you're going to go to the hospital. You never know if something's going to happen. At minimum, I want you to have your payments on auto pay at minimum, right? So pay the minimum balance. Minimum payment. If it's $35, if it's $25, if it's $10, have it set automatically to go out, but never pay the minimum. Always pay above that. But at minimum, like, in the case that it's an oversight, or maybe you're in Alaska or the North Pole, make sure your shit get paid while you're not in front of the thing, okay? At all times. So always just make sure that at minimum, the minimum payment is paid, okay? So to have a $35 payment ruin your credit, it blew me. But here's the thing. Okay, so this is a way. So actually, I just did a video on it. What you can do to counter that is you can call the credit card company. And this is what I told her to do. I said, call the credit card company. And I've done this before with my father. My dad's sister died. He had a long-standing account with Bank of America, and he had this one late payment. And I said, call them and ask them for a courtesy late removal. Tell them to give you a courtesy. Look, I've been a member, I've had this credit card since 1985, do me a solid and go ahead and remove that late payment. And the first time he called, they said no. And he called me and they said no, Niecy. Like, let's call him on three-way. They're not about to tell me no. So we call him on three-way. He talks to somebody else and they do it. So I didn't even need to get on there and talk, but I was ready. I go for my daddy, right? I go for my people. But they went ahead and removed the late payment. All was well. So sometimes, it may take calling back and just speaking to somebody else. But if you happen to have a late payment, something happens in your life, maybe somebody dies or something, you're in the hospital, you can call the creditor and say, hey, can you do me a solid and remove this late payment for me as a courtesy? As you see, I've been a member for this many years. This is what was going on in my life. And a lot of times they will, because here's the thing, they have to pay the credit bureaus to report you. So, you could ask for a courtesy late removal. All right. And I see do you have a question? Go ahead and put your question in the comments box. So let's talk about the things that can drop your credit score when you thought you didn't do anything wrong. Okay. So the first thing you've done is you closed your credit card. Now I want to tell you, never, ever, 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 ever close a credit card, especially a credit card that you've had for a long time. Because if we go back and we look at this credit pie, payment history, length of credit history is 15%. So when you close an old credit card, it reduces your overall history on your credit score, on your credit report, right? So say you've had a 15-year credit card and you closed it because you're like, I don't use this credit card no more. It's interest is high. I don't really feel like it. Don't close it. After I filed bankruptcy, I got a couple of secured credit cards right after bankruptcy. And one of them, I hate its guts. I do. It's from a company called Applied Bank. I hate its guts. $10 fee every month. I don't use it. However, it gave me that length. I filed bankruptcy, in 2009? So that's 15 years ago. So now I have a 15-year history with this credit card. So if I were to close it, I would lose that 15-year history, and my average age, my credit age would reduce, which therefore would affect my credit and it would drop my score. So a lot of times you're thinking you're doing something good by closing a credit card that you're not using. I'm not using it. No, don't close it. Use it. Don't abuse it. Just use it. Pay it off, pay it down, but keep it active because that's helping with your credit age. Okay. Number two, a reason why your credit score is dropped and you don't even know. Let's go back to the credit pie. 30% of it is the amount that you owe on your credit card. So when your credit card balances are too high, like I mentioned with that family member, that credit card balance was extremely high. And therefore, the more you utilize, when your utilization is high, it drops your credit score. So don't keep your utilization low, right? But sometimes people don't have the money to pay it down, so say you got a $20,000 or $10,000 card, you at $8,000, and you like, shit, this is draining my credit score. Well, and I don't have the money to pay it down, because you really want to keep your credit card balances to 30, no more than 50%. Okay. 30% is the sweet spot. It's kind of where you want to keep it, if you want to have it, right? Or if not zero, but keeping it at that. But if you don't have the capacity to pay it, you can call the credit card company and ask them for a a limit increase, not a balance increase, a limit increase. So if they increase your limit, so now that $8,000 credit card, which you had a $10,000 limit, now you have a $20,000 limit, that decreases your utilization. Now you're not utilizing 80%. Now you're utilizing what? Less than 50%, right? Because I said 30 and 50% are the sweet spots, 30 to 50%. So now your credit score is going to go up. So keeping that utilization low, but having a high utilization is going to drain your credit score. All right. The third thing is paying off an old collection. Why? Because you're waking up the dead. See, a collection that hasn't reported. Now, if you look at, and I talk about it in my book, if you look at a credit report, so if you see a credit report, it'll say when the last date that this collection was reported. So if you have a collection and it hasn't reported, because these bureaus, again, remember I said these bureaus, they have to pay these companies have to pay the bureaus every month that they're reporting your debt. So they have an old collection. You have an old collection. They don't feel like paying the bureau. At some point they stop reporting to the bureau that it's late, right? So it'll say last reported. It could have been in 2020. Well, if it was last reported on your credit report in 2020, as a collection is hurting your score, but not as much as if it was reporting this month. So if it was reporting this month, it will be draining your score even more. So if you paid the collection, now you just woke up the dead, and now you've just made this a current collection. Even though it's paid to zero, it's a paid collection, and it's reporting currently, which is going to hurt your score. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Another reason, the fourth reason why your credit score can drop is you've hopped on a bad credit card. So a lot of people will tell you to get a trade line, buy a trade line. That's cool. But I don't think it's necessary. I say if you want to, increase your credit score, you get on somebody's account as an authorized user. Maybe your mama got a good credit card that she says you can get on as an added user. Mama, don't give them a copy of the credit card. I just, to help my son, I just had him added them on a couple of my accounts as authorized user. Them credit cards came in and I cut them up and I put them in the garbage, because that little ninja proved that he is not trustworthy to have any of my credit cards, because he didn't have that whole thing like, yeah, no. So he's on my credit cards as an authorized user. It's helping his credit score. It's stimulating his credit score, but I didn't give him a copy of the card. But the way you can mess yourself up is if you hop on a bad authorized user card. For example, one of my clients, I told her, okay, look, you're at a 580 credit score now. I need to get you to 640. Do this, do this, do this. Get on somebody's credit card as an authorized user, somebody who has a good credit. So she was like, okay. So a couple months later, she goes, yo, Constance, I think I'm ready. So I go, yeah, I pull her credit. She's at 520. Girl, your credit score dropped 60 points. What the hell happened? We look, whose credit card is this? I got on my mama's credit card as an authorized user. So just like you would get your mama's good credit, she also got her mama's bad credit. Her mama was late. Her mama's credit card was overdrawn, and it was a new credit card. So that was defeating the purpose. She got on somebody's bad credit card. You can't get on nobody's bad credit card. So before you get on somebody's credit card as an authorized user, make sure there are 3 factors. Number 1, they've never been late, because you will inherit that late payment, and that's going to drop your score. Number 2, make sure it's a lengthy credit card. Make sure they've had that credit card at least 2 years. I'll say 2 years. And number 3, make sure the balances are low and they're not maxed out. Again, those 3 things are going to affect you. So you thinking you helping yourself, and you're actually hurting yourself by getting on somebody's card as an authorized user when they have a bad credit history. All right. Number 5, you've paid your credit card to zero. Now, I talk about paying your credit card to zero, and there's only really a reason. Okay, so couple of things. So, as a mortgage broker, I own my own mortgage company. I pull credit all the time. I have access to simulators, and sometimes when you pay your credit card to zero, it will actually drop your score, believe it or not. Yeah, it actually drops your score because utilization transcends to stimulation. So if you utilize your credit card, then it stimulates your credit score. It's a cold game out there though, because then you're paying interest, compound interest. I was telling the ladies last night, compound interest. So what you want to do is you want to keep a balance on there. Like if you are trying to stimulate your credit score, keep a balance on there. Buy gas, pay it down, keep a balance on there. But if you're not really tripping off your credit score right now and you don't need it, you're not trying to buy a car, you're not trying to buy a house, pay it to zero so you won't be paying interest. But keeping a small balance on a credit card is actually vital to your credit health. It is. Unfortunately, it's a cold game out there, but it is. It's very important to your credit health. So paying to zero is not the best way to stimulate your credit score. Your credit score can actually drop if you pay your credit card to zero. Yep. Another way is by co-signing. I put co-signing on there, and the reason why I said I don't like people co-signing for other people. I really don't. I don't even think you should buy a house with your spouse. And the reason, and that's for other purposes, and has nothing to do with trust or anything like that. That really has more to do with investing and opening up your options for investing. But co-signing is just of the devil. My thinking is if they can't get it on their own because they own credit up, you think they give a damn about your credit? They won't. They don't care about their own credit. Don't co-sign. That don't got nothing to do with nothing, but just don't co-sign for nobody. I wouldn't co-sign for my mama. I wouldn't co-sign for my daughter. I wouldn't co-sign for anyone personally. And I don't care how much you trust them. And again, the reason why you got to co-sign for them is because they're not responsible with their payment history and they don't give a fuck about their payment. So they damn sure ain't gonna give a fuck about your payment. So I would never co-sign for anybody. Okay? Maybe my daddy. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't co-sign for anybody. And lastly, it's the last one. If you have no credit card, that can actually hurt your credit score. Why? Because I said 30% of your credit score is the amount that you owe on your credit card. Having a credit card is paramount to your credit score. I have people who've come to me because they're very religious and they had some kind of thing at church, some kind of ceremony at church, and they cutting up credit cards. You ever been to those credit card cutting ceremonies at the church where they shouting and they cutting credit cards? That's not a good thing. That's actually a bad thing because you need credit. And so oftentimes, especially older people will come to me and they'll want to buy a house, but they have no credit because they were taught to not owe Caesar nothing. The problem with this society is unless you are paying cash, like a lot of our Muslim brothers and sisters, they don't believe in credit, but they paying cash for everything. If you don't have the ability to pay for cash, you need credit. So if you get a credit card, use it, don't abuse it. So have a credit card, but just make sure that you use it sparingly. So not having a credit card can actually hurt your credit score. Okay. Whew. All right. So let's go to the questions. And so I'm going to answer some questions now, but those were the 7 things. And hopefully that you heard them all. And if you didn't, I'm not repeating them. You're going to have to rewind after this is over. So Deshaun said, hi, Dr. Tachi. Good afternoon to you too. Constance question. I want to redo my kitchen and it will be anywhere from 12 to 15K. Would it make sense to get a 0% card, pay it, then pay it off before then? Heck yeah. It's the best way to do it. Yes. It will be a good idea. It will be a good idea. See, here's the thing about that though. Here's the thing that you have to consider. If this is a brand new card, you will now have a new card, which will lower your overall credit age. Okay. Because what they do with your credit age is they average your credit history. And now you getting a new credit card, it may potentially drop your credit score because now you have a new card, your age is reduced. And so that may happen, but it's not necessarily a bad idea. When I talk about getting credit cards, 0% interest credit cards are great because compound interest is a mother. The other thing that I like about credit cards are rewards. Rewards could actually help you in many ways. Rewards could pay for your groceries. Rewards could get you vacations. When I was introduced to American Express rewards, oh my gosh, trips, airfare, all of these things. So as you buy things, you get these rewards, you get these points, you can use them to then invest in other things or buy other things. So when you're looking at credit cards, getting 0% interest, introductory credit cards are good, especially if you could pay them off prior to the interest kicking in. Those are not bad. But again, you're going to have to use a credit card at some point because you want to keep the credit card. You don't want it to close. All right. Let's see. Cartisha said I had an Ashley Stewart card, wasn't using it. They closed my account. That's another thing. So having a credit card company close your account is actually even worse than you closing your account. It actually will drop your score a little bit more just from how the algorithms work. So you have to use it. If you don't, and that's a really good point, Cartisha, if you don't use it, they will end up closing your account, but they'll warn you. So, if you have a credit card that you haven't used in a long time, check your mail, because they will say, yo, you better start using it or we about to close this month. So, use them, pay them out. But, sometimes when they're department store credit cards, because I've had department store credit cards that I've let them close because, okay, after you bought the furniture, I'm not really going to use it anymore. So, in those cases, yeah, you not gonna, I'm not gonna go buy a pillow just for the sake of keeping that charge card. But it is the same instance because it is a revolving account. All right. So listen, a lot of you guys are in here. I appreciate you guys tuning in with me. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. I don't see any more questions on here. So I'm going to let you guys get off and I'm going to get my ass to work. But I appreciate you guys checking in with me, always showing me love. Make sure, again, you subscribe to the Fly Nubian Queen. Okay. You subscribe to @CC the CEO, Constance Carter, my YouTube page, as well as come over here on YouTube. on Instagram and on Facebook. And I just made 100,000 followers on Facebook. So thank you to the 100,000 people that decided that they want to follow me and engage with my content. I really do appreciate it. But follow me at I am Constance Carter. I appreciate you guys rocking with me because you know what? I really do love you in real life. I really do, for real. All right. Take care and God bless.